I spent almost 10 years studying psychology off and on. I got to a point where I understood myself completely, in minute detail. I could describe to you exactly why I felt and acted and lived in all the ways I did, but I couldn't change any of the things that most needed changing. Ever since I can remember, my mother was distant, emotionally unstable, chaotic. It wasn't good or bad. That's just the way it was. So I learned to fend for myself and to ignore my own emotions. This established a pattern that played out again and again in my relationships. Every time I thought it would be different, and every time I ended up with an emotionally distant woman who needed to be taken care of. Freud would have called this a repetition compulsion. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of convoluted psychological theories as to why we do this. It's a fundamental part of being an animal. Just think of a young bird learning to fly. We're hardwired to learn by imitation. That's how we survived as a species. And all of us, in one way or another, do the same thing. Jung once said, "Until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will dominate your life, and you will call it fate." It's true, but only partially. Consciousness is just the first step. It took me a long time to figure out in these relationships that it was as much my fault as theirs, and even longer to realize that my part was the only one I could do anything about. But change isn't easy. Understanding isn't enough. These patterns work like an addiction. You can't just say no. You've got to work at the deepest, most instinctual levels of the brain, with the whole body-mind. You have to be willing to redefine yourself, the way you act, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you fear, the way you love. It isn't easy. When my son was 2 years old, I finally realized I had to do something. I saw him watching me, absorbing everything I did. I couldn't bear to see him learning to follow in my footsteps. I started exploring voraciously. Tantra, yoga, tumo, meditation, pranayama, Wim Hof, contact, temazcal, ayahuasca. I moved beyond the mind and deep into the body, into the roots of what it means to be human. I found a deeper source of strength, vitality, resilience, inner freedom, and a profound connection with myself and the world around me. Now, the next phase of my journey is to help others on theirs, to live ever more fully, more authentically, with purpose, meaning, and passion.